Welcome to this explainer. You know, nature is absolutely packed with superheroes. But today we're looking at an animal that literally defies physical belief. I'm talking about the Wandering Albatross. I mean, it sounds like pure science fiction, right? A bird that can literally sleep while flying, but thanks to some incredibly fascinating data gathered by scientists, we know this is actually wonderfully real.
Let me ask you something. Did you know there's a bird that can fly for years without ever landing on the ocean? Just think about that for a second. Not for a day, not for a week, but for years. When we humans think of travel, we generally think of destinations, right? We think of stopping, resting our feet. But for the Wandering Albatross, the air is its permanent home. It is quite literally an endless aviator. To spend years airborne without touching the waves below, it seems physically impossible. So, how exactly does this giant pull it off?
Okay, let's dive into this. The secret to this impossible endurance really starts with a single number, 12. Specifically, a record-breaking 12-foot wingspan. That is the absolute largest wingspan of any living bird on our planet today. When you stretch those wings out from tip to tip, you're looking at a physical span that is just completely unmatched in the avian world. No other bird comes close. That enormous 12-foot stretch, that's the foundational secret to their incredible airborne endurance. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive scale we're talking about. I want you to picture a standard car hovering up there in the sky. That is the physical span of this bird. Its wings stretch out wider than some cars are actually long. It's so easy to just hear a number like 12 feet and kind of let it gloss over you, but visualizing that sheer physical size, it really changes things. You need massive equipment to do a massive job, and the Albatross is perfectly equipped for the sky. So those massive car-length wings actually allow the Albatross to master the true art of the glide. They travel across entire oceans using wind currents, literally without flapping their wings for hours at a time. Think about it. If they had to actively flap those enormous 12-foot wings constantly, they'd exhaust their energy reserves almost immediately. Instead, they use the physical mechanics of the wind. Acting almost like a perfectly engineered sail, they just lock their wings into place and effortlessly ride those powerful ocean currents. It is all about maximum efficiency, hours and hours of travel without a single wing flap. But even with that maximum efficiency, every living creature needs to rest. Which brings us to their most mind-bending biological superpower, half-brain sleep. We've established they can fly for years, and we know they don't constantly flap their wings to do it. But how do they actually sleep? If they fully power down, wouldn't they just fall right out of the sky? Well, nature's solution to this problem is truly one of the most astonishing biological adaptations ever recorded.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how they pull this off. Instead of fully powering down like you or I do, the Albatross literally shuts down just half of its brain at a time. It's incredible. This brilliant mechanism allows them to get the vital rest they absolutely need, while the awake half of their brain stays alert enough to keep them perfectly balanced in the air. They are resting and flying simultaneously. It's this elegant, perfect system that lets them maintain their endless journey without ever needing to touch down for a nap.
Let's move to and see how this builds a deeply romantic life cycle above the waves. After spending their first few years flying relentlessly over the sea, learning the winds and basically never touching land, they eventually seek out a partner. And once they find that perfect match, they stay together for life. That bond is entirely permanent. To reconnect with that lifelong partner after long stretches apart, they perform these beautiful, intricate dances every single year. It is a brilliant combination of harsh airborne survival and, honestly, profound social connection. So, the crucial point is, this entirely reframes how we look at the ocean horizon. It may look completely empty to us, but just above those waves, the Albatross is living one of the wildest lives in nature. When we stare out at the sea, it seems entirely desolate, right? But hidden in plain sight is a massive, car-sized bird, gliding for hours on the wind, sleeping with half its brain, and traversing the globe for years on end before returning to dance with its lifelong mate.
Which leaves us with a really fascinating question. Would you survive a life spanned almost entirely in the sky? I mean, it's an existence that pushes the absolute boundaries of what we think is biologically possible. The Wandering Albatross doesn't just survive in that harsh, endless blue, it thrives. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking questions, and I'll catch you next time.